working to connect a region of over 600 million bridges between our lands.
Good evening, I'm Alma Angeles, and you're watching ASEAN in Focus. On tonight's headlines. Severe tropical storm Jenny has rapidly intensified, now classified as a typhoon, as it approaches northern Luzon. We'll provide you with the latest updates and forecasts. In Thailand, a promising initiative has successfully reduced food loss and waste while increasing income through innovative rice processing techniques. We'll take a closer look at this positive development. The UN Human Rights Office has called on the government of Vietnam to release environmental human rights defenders who have been detained on what appear to be politically motivated charges. We'll delve into the details of this plea for their release. The Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, in the Philippines aims to enhance the global competitiveness of the country's higher education sector through a partnership with the European Union. And we'll discuss their plans as highlighted during the 2023 European Higher Education Fair opening ceremony. And we begin with the weather update. Severe tropical storm Jenny has rapidly strengthened, now classified as a typhoon as of early Monday morning. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, has issued tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 for multiple areas in northern Luzon.
Sa ngayon ay nakataas ng tropical cyclone wind signal number 1 sa 5 lugar sa northern Luzon. Kabilang na dyan ang lalawigan ng Batanes at Cagayan, kabilang ng Babuyan Islands. Mga bayan sa Isabela, kabilang ng Makunakon, Bibilacan, Palanan, Santa Maria, San Pablo, Tumawini, Cabagan, Ilagan, San Mariano, and Santo Tomas. Buong Apayao, signal number 1 na po. At gayon din sa ilang pambahagi ng Ilocos Norte. Ang Carasi, Pintar, Burgos, Dumalneg, Banggi, Pagudpod, at Adap. Sa loob po ng 1.5 araw, posible makaramay sila ng malalakas po na hangin at hindi rin natin naalis yung chance na mag-upgrade pa itong mga signal number 1s natin into signals number 2 and number 3. At ilan pang bahagi po ng northern Luzon and even Aurora, possible po na magkaroon tayo ng tropical cyclone wind signals. In terms of mga pag-ulan, inuulit natin, yung mga pag-ulan po natin ay dahil kay Typhoon Jenny plus the southwest monsoon. Itong kulay ito po, associated siya directly dito sa Bagyo. So by today, Batanes, Northern Cagayan, and Ilocos provinces po ang pinakamaapektuhan ng bagyo. And then by tomorrow, Northern Cagayan pa rin po, kabilang ng Babuyan Islands, Ilocos provinces, and Northern Apayao. Hanggang Wednesday na po yan. So mag-ingat po sa mga isang malalakas po na mga pag-uulan. Meron din tayong aasahang mga occasional rains over Zambales and Bataan pa rin, Pampanga, Bulacan, ito rin pong Cavite, Batangas, at patuloy pa rin ang mga pag-ulan sa Occidental Mindoro at sa mga isla ng Calamian and Cuyo Islands. Pinakang maapektuhan po ang lalawigan ng Batanes with 100 to 200 millimeters po or equivalent sa moderate to heavy with at times intense rains. Pagsapit po yan ng Tuesday and Wednesday kung saan papalapit at mismong nandun na po sa may area po ng extreme northern Luzon itong si Bagyong Jenny.
Forecasts predict that Jenny will reach its peak intensity on Tuesday and could potentially make landfall over the southern part of Taiwan by Thursday afternoon or evening. And stay tuned for further updates on this developing weather situation. In the arena of global technology, tensions are simmering as the U.S. government takes measures to curtail China's access to advanced semiconductors and other vital technologies, citing them as critical to U.S. national security. Nigel Inkster, CMG IISS Senior Advisor on China and the author of The Great Decoupling China, America, and the Struggle for Technological Supremacy, offers insights into the motivations behind these unfolding processes, the potential outcomes they might yield, and the ramifications they carry for global economic and geopolitical stability. While President Biden and Chinese President Xi Jinping expressed a desire for peaceful coexistence and cooperation during their meeting in Indonesia, their statements contained nuances.
And both sides are saying one thing and doing something else. When Presidents Biden and Xi met in Indonesia last year, Biden said that he did not intend to, subvert or overthrow China or prevent its development. And Xi Jinping said that China did not want to displace the United States. Well, to put it mildly, neither statement was entirely without terminological inexactitudes.
The concept of a rules-based order emerged in the past decade, coinciding with growing U.S.-China divisions, hinting at challenges to the existing global order.
The use of the term the rules-based order came into vogue around 2010, precisely the moment at which I think the splits were beginning to no longer be capable of being hidden. I mean, I don't remember during the course of my entire government career ever hearing the words rule-based international order once. And the fact that people are talking about it so much now is, I think, a very interesting indication of the extent to which they perceive it's under threat. That whether there was ever a single rules-based international order is perhaps a moot point.
Inkster shed light on the complex dynamics at play. China projects historical determinism, asserting its assent.
So we've got a situation in which the two sides are pushing in opposite directions. In the Chinese case, I think there is a high degree of schizophrenia. On the one hand, China's leaders, imbued with a sense of Marxist determinism, historical determinism, are saying the East is rising, the West is in decline. At the same time, China's leaders regard the West, and particularly the United States, as still capable of doing a lot of damage, and as now being involved in encirclement, containment, and suppression of China's rise.
Conversely, the U.S. perceives China's rapid technological progress as a challenge to its global leadership, motivating its actions.
So at the same time, the United States, I think, is looking at what it perceives as a threat from China that risks that challenges its vision of itself as the kind of global leader. And any psychologist will tell you that the pain of losing something you've got is far in excess of the pain that you experience from not having it in the first place. And I think this is very much of a driver in the US case.
The deteriorating U.S.-China relationship has spawned a classic security dilemma, where each side's actions significantly influence the other's behavior.
And we're looking essentially at an action-reaction dynamic, a classic security dilemma. What the United States does in the Pacific region shapes Chinese behavior to a very significant degree. Some Chinese behaviors are also very, sort of instrumental in shaping U.S. responses.
Now let's shift our focus to the global semiconductor landscape, where the race for technological supremacy unfolds. The global semiconductor industry grapples with a stark division. China strives to close the technology gap with the U.S., but hurdles persist. China can produce chips at the 40-28 nanometer nodes, but trails in advanced logic chips.
Regulations that limit the amount of technology, U.S. technology, that in particular components and systems that can be sold to China. So this is a pretty big deal, and it's a big deal because China can't yet make these things for itself. Obviously, it can't make the most advanced chips because the U.S. won't let it get the equipment to do it. I mean, China can make chips to quite high levels of sophistication in the 40-28 nanometer nodes, memory chips in particular, but they're not good at logic chips. And even if they the situation is such that even if they were able to get the actual equipment for making them, they also need enormously complex supply chains of very sophisticated inputs, chemicals refined to 99.999 recurring levels of purity, lenses, mirrors, pipes, valves, all machined to similar levels of tolerance. And all these things are made in the West.
Taiwan occupies a pivotal role in this semiconductor saga, notably through the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC.
Of course, this brings us to the whole issue of Taiwan, because Taiwan is the center of the tussle between the United States and China. And again, technology plays an important role here.
TSMC produces advanced chips and serves as a silicon shield for Taiwan, discouraging regional conflicts.
Taiwan likes to talk about the TSMC foundries as its silicon shield. The argument is that China is would not want to damage these capabilities in a conflict, and therefore will refrain from engaging in a conflict. I think that probably is a misplaced assessment. Taiwan is a big issue, and of course, Taiwan plays a big role in technology. But I don't think semiconductors are going to be the proximate cause of a conflict between the United States and China. This is driven by other factors. In China's case, and it's something I think Western policymakers significantly underrate. Thukydides said that there are three drivers for conflict: fear, honor, and advantage. Phobos ke timis ke ophilos. And I think in China's case, the fact that this is about honor is something that Western policymakers do not afford sufficient attention, pay sufficient attention to.
In a bid to rejuvenate Thailand's economy and promote tourism, newly appointed Prime Minister Srettha Thavisin has introduced a visa-free policy for Chinese and Kazakh tourists. This policy is in effect from September 25th to February 29 next year, with a special focus on accommodating Chinese visitors during their Golden Week holiday period. Now, this holiday period coincides with the Mid-Autumn Festival and spans from September 29 to October 8. It marks one of the first opportunities for Chinese travelers to enjoy unrestricted travel since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. As part of this warm welcome, Chinese visitors arriving from Shanghai received gifts from Prime Minister Srettha and tourism ministers upon their arrival at Bangkok's airport. This week's warm welcome has been well received by Beijing, with China's Foreign Minister Wang Wenbin expressing appreciation during a press conference on Tuesday. However, the contrast in visitor numbers between 2019 and 2023 is stark. In the current year, from January to September 10, only 2.2 million Chinese travelers arrived in Thailand, as reported by the Tourism Authority of Thailand. This significant drop reflects the ongoing challenges faced by the tourism sector. Southeast Asian countries had initially pinned their hopes on a rebound in international travel to revitalize their tourism sectors following pandemic-related shutdowns. Optimism grew when China began easing travel restrictions early in 2023. Nevertheless, with the sluggish Chinese economy, a weaker yuan, and concerning unemployment figures, regional travel hubs have had to adjust their expectations and prepare for a more extended path to recovery. The future of U.S. aid for Ukraine is hanging in the balance following a last-minute deal to avert a government shutdown, despite President Biden's efforts to reassure Kiev that it will receive the necessary support to combat Russia.
Last night, Congress passed the spending bill that's going to keep the government open. And it's good news for the American people because the government will not shut down and a needless crisis will have been averted.
Only a week after President Volodymyr Zelensky's visit to Washington, where he appealed for increased funding, a compromise was reached in Congress on Sunday that omitted new funding for Ukraine due to opposition from hardline Republicans. President Biden and the Democratic Party argue that the U.S. has a moral duty to assist Ukraine in standing up to Russian President Putin's brutal invasion. They warn that failing to do so could embolden other autocratic leaders in the future.
I hope my friends on the other side keep their word about support for Ukraine. They said they're going to support Ukraine in a separate vote. We cannot, under any circumstance, allow American support for Ukraine to be interrupted. Stop playing games. Get this done.
Ukraine has downplayed the setback, stating that it's actively collaborating with its American partners to secure new wartime aid. Josep Borrell, the European Union's top diplomat and a significant partner in delivering aid to Ukraine, expressed surprise and deep regret regarding the last-minute decision by the U.S.
And to tell the truth, we were surprised by the fact that the last-minute agreement has taken a decision that we have to regret deeply. And so, after listening to President Biden, who make a call for this decision to be reconsidered, I have the hope that this will not be a definitive decision and Ukraine will continue having the support of the U.S.
And even if House Speaker Kevin McCarthy agrees to provide aid to Ukraine, potentially through a deal with Democrats to secure his position as Speaker, a broader issue remains: war fatigue. Skepticism is no longer confined to hardline Republicans, as more moderate lawmakers are expressing reluctance to provide Ukraine with a blank check.
What the Senate wanted to do was focus on Ukraine in front of America. I understand our responsibilities, but I'm going to put America first. If there's a moment in time we need to have a discussion about that, we will have a discussion completely about that. But I think the administration has to make the case for what is victory.
More concerning for both Biden and Kiev is that inflation-worry American voters appear to share these concerns about Ukraine. September 24 ABC Washington Post poll revealed that 41% of respondents believe the U.S. was doing too much to support Ukraine, an increase from 33% in February and just 14% in April 2022. Complicating matters further is a Republican impeachment inquiry into President Biden, centered on his son Hunter's business dealings in Ukraine. The Biden administration's argument is straightforward. If Russia is not deterred in Ukraine, the rest of the world may be at risk.
I fully expect the Speaker to keep his commitment to secure the passage and support needed to help Ukraine as they defend themselves against aggression and brutality. And folks, overwhelmingly, there's an overwhelming number of Republicans and Democrats in both the House and the Senate who support Ukraine. Let's vote on it.
What Russia has done is wrong, but I believe in whatever we do, we have to define what victory is and what the plan is. And I think what the White House needs to do is come down and talk with us and lay it out where we have a part of it say as well.
In a promising initiative in Thailand, food loss and waste have been reduced while boosting income, all thanks to some innovative rice processing techniques. Implemented by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, this project has supported small and medium-sized processing businesses in Thailand. The FAO-led effort enabled these enterprises to measure and decrease food losses in their operations while introducing new equipment to combat food waste. Food loss refers to the loss of food in quantity or quality between harvest and retail, while food waste is the decline in food quantity or quality resulting from decisions by retailers, food services, and consumers. Now, one such initiative is the Ban Lao Farmers' Wives Cooperative, located in Thailand's Sakon Nakhon province, which processes and distributes germinated brown rice, known for its nutritional value.
ถ้าเราตากข้าว น้อยไปก็จะทำให้ข้าวเกิดเชื้อราแต่ถ้าเราตากข้าวนานไปข้าวก็จะหักในกระบวนการสีทำให้เราได้ข้าวน้อยลง
Rosa Roll, Senior Officer and Team Leader of Food Loss and Waste at the FAO Food and Nutrition Division, emphasized the crucial role of technology in reducing food loss and waste.
Processors did not have access to simple items of equipment for managing quality, simple things like managing temperature and time. And these are some of the simple things that our project introduced that allowed together with a good practice, allowed the producers, the processors to actually conform to the Thai standards. It helped them to reduce food loss and waste, improve the quality of their products, and hopefully we will see the monetary returns coming to them as a result.
Globally, 13% of food is lost and an additional 17% is wasted, impacting hunger, food security, nutrition, and climate change. This project, developed and overseen by the FAO with funding from the government of Japan and collaboration with the Thai government and Mahidol University, is contributing to the transformation of agri-food systems. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development aims to have global per capita food waste at the retail and consumer levels while reducing food losses in production and supply chains. The UN Human Rights Office has called on the government of Vietnam to release environmental human rights defenders who have been detained and prosecuted on what appear to be politically motivated charges.
The arrest, detention and sentencing of human rights defenders in Vietnam who advocate for the environment and the country's transition to clean energy use raises serious concerns not only with respect to the charges levelled against them, but also the conduct of the trials themselves. Yesterday, Hoang Thi Minh Hong became the fifth of 6 environmental human rights defenders arrested from 2021 to 2023 to be sentenced. She has been prosecuted on tax evasion charges, which appear to be politically motivated, according to UN independent experts. Arrests of environmental human rights defenders are taking place amid Vietnam's implementation of the Just Energy Transition Partnership. We reiterate that to achieve the goal of a just and sustainable transition to green energy, human rights defenders and environmental organisations must be able to participate freely and actively in shaping climate and environmental policies and decision-making. These prosecutions and the arbitrary application of restrictive legislation are having a chilling effect on the critically important work of environmental defenders and that of other human rights defenders in Vietnam. We call to the government of Vietnam to refrain from using criminal charges to curtail the exercise of fundamental freedoms and to release unconditionally all those who have been detained in such cases. We also remind the authorities of their obligations under international law to respect the rule of law, the right to a fair trial, and ensuring judicial independence.
The Commission on Higher Education, or CHED, has expressed its aim to enhance the global competitiveness of the higher education sector in the Philippines through a partnership with the EU. During the 2023 European Higher Education Fair opening ceremony held at Shangri-La Plaza in Mandaluyong City, CHED Chairperson J. Prospero de Vera emphasized the theme Pathways to Excellence. De Vera spoke about the aspiration to reshape Philippine higher education, incorporating relevant innovations and contributing to the transformation of higher education locally and internationally. The theme of this year's fair, Pathways to Excellence, underscores the various educational opportunities offered by the EU. Now, these opportunities aim to equip Filipino students with the skills, knowledge, mindset, and transformative experiences necessary to thrive in an increasingly interconnected global landscape.
Their competencies, their skills, their worldview, and makes them better Filipino and global citizens. Through our collective efforts, therefore, with our partners in Europe, we look forward to continuously improve and re-engineer Philippine higher education institutions for a better, learning more relevant innovations, and helping re-image higher education, both here and abroad, working on the premise that the pursuit of higher education paves the way for a better life for all Filipinos.
But above all, EGEF has been possible thanks to the incredible response from thousands of Filipino students and universities from across the country. And in this regard, I would like to have a special mention for our EGEF and Erasmus Goodwill ambassadors who, through their commitment and enthusiasm, help bring the option of studying in Europe closer to Filipino students, not only during EGEF but all along the year. The European Union offers to Filipino and other countries' students the possibility to experience a world-class higher education and to benefit from an extensive choice of bachelor's and master's courses, doctoral study programs, and more. It also allows them to gain international experience, skills, and knowledge, and to explore diverse languages and cultures in a welcoming social environment.
Going to Europe for study is a must, but choosing Spain is the right decision. Spain Space offers a perfect blend of excellence of the academic studies, where you can make your master or your grade in English or Spanish. You have a good and affordable quality of life.
So please come to Sweden. Many hundreds of Filipinos have already studied in Sweden, and the largest number of graduates have studied at the World Maritime University, which is located in southern Sweden.
In our art and technology segment today, we delve into a fascinating convergence of the past and the present as an AI incarnation of Vincent van Gogh makes its debut. This digital Van Gogh, however, seems a bit exasperated by frequent inquiries about his notorious ear incident. Take a listen. Addressing the issue with a tone reminiscent of interactions with AI language models, the virtual artist sets the historical record straight, emphasizing this.
À Auvers-sur-Oise, j'ai créé de nombreux chefs-d'œuvre, dont le célèbre tableau Chant de blé au corbeau. Il s'agit d'une représentation intense de la nature et de mes émotions.
This AI representation of Van Gogh is a part of a video presentation featured at the conclusion of an exciting exhibit at the Musée d'Orsay in Paris. Running until February, this exhibition shines a spotlight on the artist's final weeks. Van Gogh's tragic end in 1890 at the age of 37 involved a self-inflicted gunshot wound with a rusty pistol, leading to 2 agonizing days before his passing. Among the exhibit's highlights is a dedicated room showcasing Van Gogh's double square panoramas, a groundbreaking technique using elongated and narrow canvases, foreshadowing the widescreen landscapes of cinema. In addition to the Van Gogh chatbot, visitors can immerse themselves in a virtual reality experience by donning a headset, allowing them to explore Dr. Gadget's kitchen, where Van Gogh spent his final days. Take a surreal journey through a massive reproduction of his paint palette and delve into the intricate details of his last painting, Tree Roots. The state-of-the-art headset, courtesy of Taiwanese company Vive Arts, features hand tracking technology, eliminating the need for handheld controllers and enabling users to interact with objects and paint droplets in the virtual realm. As my usual habit, I'd like to end the day on a positive note. Let's encourage and build each other up so that no one is left behind. And that's it for tonight's broadcast. I'm Alma Angela. Stay in the news because we live in extraordinary times. Good night.